let's go into some other topics. All right, a quick comment on admission competition. Okay? I'm often asked to give some perspective on the state of the playing field and how competitive things are. New York Times article, look at the title here, High School Seniors Agony. Okay? That word, anybody here in journalism? That agony, that was an editorial decision. That was a human being's choice with an agenda. They wanted to prey on the anxiety that exists around this and sell newspapers. Tell me if some of these sentiments sound familiar in what you read about college. The idea that the competition creates a time of intense worry. And the idea that it's never been so competitive. Or the idea that what I as the parent had in my application would no longer be competitive. Right? This particular article, Times published this in 1957. Okay? So folks, some of this is the same as it ever was. Okay? There has always been anxiety around the process to go to four-year competitive colleges. Always has been, always will be. But you know what? Back in 1957, the world kept turning. Every year, about 2 million kids go on to college. It has a way of working itself out. Okay? So I think keeping that in perspective is helpful. All right. Let's go back to this and get into the first of these complex questions. SAT versus ACT. Be wary of the advice you'll hear out there just from the rumor mill. So parents just chatting amongst one another, sharing advice. I do this. I talk with my friends to get in their input. But you hear some crazy stuff. There's a lot of misinformation out there. I think especially maybe, Lenny, about testing more than anything else. It's just bad information. Okay? This particular joke, this is not the silliest thing I've ever heard about SAT versus ACT.
No.
I've heard worse. The generalization you may hear is that a student who's a certain type of learner is better at one test or the other. That's not true. You may hear one test is easier than another. Also not generally true. One test may be easier for you than the other, but you don't know that in any automatic way. Here are the tests at a high level. So you're probably familiar with the PSAT. Okay?
Did your mic just drop out?
Yeah, the mic cuts in and out. Let me
Oh.
try that.
Hey.
Testing. All right. Have you in the back heard anything? A little bit? Okay. Thank you. All right. Here's the PSAT. You're probably familiar with that. The PSAT is essentially a slightly easier, slightly shorter version of the SAT. It's normed for younger students. Okay? Here's the SAT, a little longer, and it has, in some cases, an experimental section. It has an optional essay. And here's the ACT, similar length. The ACT is 5 minutes shorter than the SAT. I've had students say they'd like to choose the ACT for that reason. Shaving a lap off of a marathon, you won't notice it. Okay? But here are your two choices of which test to take at a high level. Oops. Content-wise, they have a lot in common. Okay? About a 3-hour test. Academically, it's the 3 R's: reading, writing, arithmetic. All right. I'm really curious to see how that was going to. So, thank you. Okay. Where they differ is in the format and the pace, the structure. Okay. So here's an example: reading comprehension. Both of these tests will require you to read something that may be boring. It's fairly long. You must read it quickly and then answer annoying questions about it. You cannot get away from that. It's on both tests. The SAT, though, that reading section, it's the first section. So it's 8 o'clock in the morning on a weekend. First thing you do is reading comp. Okay? SAT, it's 65 minutes long. It's a long reading comprehension section. If you had a diagnosed learning difference for which you receive accommodations, such as extended time, for you the reading comp would be 1 hour and 38 minutes. Go. Okay? Not fun. On the positive side for the SAT, the reading is fairly reasonably paced. The amount of time you're given per question is not too bad. Doesn't feel too rushed. Here's the ACT. ACT, reading comes up 2 hours into the test. So maybe now you're wide awake, or now you're getting tired, depends on you. It's much shorter, 35 minutes. That you will feel that. That's a much shorter reading test. So that might sound great. You get it over with much more quickly. However, wow, is it fast-paced. ACT reading 4 long passages, 10 questions per passage. So with 35 minutes, you have less than a minute per passage. And if you try that test, it'll feel that way. It'll feel really speedy. Okay? So a lot of this comes down to a pick your poison situation. Okay? Do you want to have to read and keep your focus up for longer, but have it be not as rushed? Or do you want to get it over with more quickly, but really race? Okay? The answer is you don't know. You don't know until you try both. Okay, so a good practice is in many cases to at least consider both tests in the form of a practice test. Okay, to see which one suits you. Okay. Some other quirks. Let's talk about math. ACT math is pretty straightforward. It's the second section, 60 minutes long, okay? All multiple choice, and you can use a calculator on all of them. So it's fast-paced, but the structure is not unfamiliar to you. It's pretty straightforward. The SAT math, it's a little bit more chopped up. There's a section like the ACT at the end, almost as long, and you can use a calculator. But before that comes a section that's where a calculator is not allowed. Anybody remember that from the PSAT? Some students don't like this section. You're pretty used to using a calculator in math, so to have it taken away from you for a section can be a little bit jarring. I don't recommend you spend too much time on Twitter. Twitter can be a bad place. However, if you've just taken the SAT or ACT and you want to commiserate with your peers, there's some hilarious stuff online. I recently saw this one. This was a kid. The joke was, this is him on the no calculator section of the math SAT. I feel his pain. Right? This expression, now that's kind of hard to see through the projector, but he's miserable. Okay? I'll tell you, sure, see something kind of strange. I still go and sit for these tests occasionally. People in test prep do that. Okay? It's more than a little bit weird. Every year it gets weirder. Okay? But I'm allowed to be there. I take the test once in a while. I can look around the room as I finish a section, and every student in the room, I can put them in one of two groups based on their facial expression. And nobody looks happy. Nobody's smiling and thrilled to be there like I am. But some students look okay. They look determined and focused, like they have a plan, they know what to do, they're following it. And I don't know their ability, but I know they're more likely scoring to their potential, whatever it may be. The other group of kids looks like him. Miserable, just shell-shocked, and no idea what this was going to feel like. Okay? Was not prepared for the basics. You know, calculators, no calculator section, for example. Okay? The big difference between group 1 and group 2, big difference, would be a commitment to at least self-study with practice tests. If you're taking any notes at all tonight, commitment to practice tests as part of the routine to raise your score is huge. Okay? You could do the most fancy, expensive kind of test prep available, in-home private tutoring, whatever it is, have great lessons, you know, but if you don't do the dress rehearsals, you're not going to be as ready as you could be for the real test. Our students typically take at least 3 practice tests. Some take twice that many. Up to a point, the correlation between improvement and attention given to practice tests is nearly perfect. Okay? So be prepared for that as part of your study regimen for the test. I also feel I don't mind recommending that because they are free. There's no hurdle to taking practice tests. You can avoid a tutoring company altogether and get them on your own. You can download them for free. We offer, for students at this school, as a free service, as part of offering a class here, the chance to come to our office in Midtown, 4 subway stops I know as I just got here, and take a proctored, supervised test and get a very professional report on how you did. And there's no fee attached to that. We're not the only ones. There's lots of these options out there. The key is your willingness to commit to doing that. It makes a huge difference, especially on the ACT getting faster. Okay? So there's something to think about. All right, if you heed my advice to try both tests at some point, here's a tool that we can use to compare them. So let's say that this spring, as a year 1 student, your SAT score just doesn't kind of get where you think it can be. It kind of tops out, and you want to try the ACT. Here's a tool that will let you compare those 2 scores, just how colleges compare them. So let's say you had a 22 on the ACT and a 1200 on the SAT or PSAT. This is in the handout, by the way. You would use this chart, it's kind of a grid, come across and down and see where the scores intersect. And in this case, you would be better at the SAT. That's the test for you, for whatever reason. Okay? If this were me, I wouldn't even think about the ACT. Okay? There's no extra hero points for taking both and submitting top scores on both to colleges. Colleges truly don't care. One or the other is fine. Okay? So find the one that's best for you. Here's another scenario. Say your ACT score was 31 and your SAT is a 1400. You see where these intersect? And there's no difference. As far as colleges are concerned, these are equivalent scores. Okay? If this is you, if you take practice tests and you see it's a tie, which it often is, then use your instinct. Look carefully at the test as we were doing a moment ago, some of these factors, and try to figure out that way which one is best for you. Or look at which one has more available resources. There's going to be an SAT class here on campus this spring, starting first week of February. Probably not for the ACT because it's less popular. Okay? So if you have more access to preparation resources for one test, then you maybe lean that way. Okay.